nice...
Hi, I'm Phil. Handsome.
Hi, my name's Theo, but I don't do the introduction, so...
Hello, I'm Phil, Chartered Architect and Director of PWS. I'm wearing a hoodie, it's the weekend, and this is my intern, Theo.
Hello. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how to make your office suck less. So we're going to be kind of running through a few things, running through just kind of things you can bring into your office or your studio to improve morale, to help people out, to keep blabbing on with this sentence, even though I didn't think about where it was going. Yeah, let's get right into it.
With that. Okay.
Computers.
Whoa. Jumps right in. Go for the jugular.
Computers. It's an important topic of debate. Apple.
Yeah, I
versus
imagine you've probably get a lot of stick
Windows.
in the studio for having your MacBook.
Supercomputer.
Yeah, I used to get loads of stick for that. As I've had a MacBook.
People on that vein, so don't really care. I'm kind of that. In fairness, every now and then I'll be like, "Hey guys, I've got a nice computer."
See, when I started, there wasn't that many people that had them. So I got an iMac in 2009. And ever since then, I've just had MacBooks and iMacs. And so when I got to university, and there was like a few people that had them, and then see, like every year it seemed like more and more people got MacBooks, and then we all got into practice, and it was Windows.
I mean, there's a mix. It's not like I'm the only one, but most people who get their laptops out have Windows, which makes it kind of makes sense because it's cheaper, unbelievably.
Yeah, God, yeah.
So
that's one of the things.
And like I think that's it. You can get nice Windows PCs for a lot less.
Yeah,
But you can't get them like as good for a lot less.
Well, I always found the
obviously
build
makes
quality of Macs and iMacs and MacBooks to be massive, and that's why I really like them, because I am clumsy as hell.
Yeah.
The other thing that, like, the thing that
A lot of Windows ones do feel a bit plasticky.
Yeah, I mean, I've played with the all aluminium Windows ones before. Back when I worked at a different practice where they only worked on Windows. We started using Revit, and I didn't want a partition, but we'll get into that in a moment. And so I was looking at like these all aluminium ones that were like kind of the Windows knockoff of the MacBooks, but I just didn't like it as much. But I also find that I really like the OS for Mac. Like, I just started with it and understood it immediately, whereas at like the 2009 we were moving into like Windows Vista and everything, and it was just a friggin' nightmare.
I know you disagree with this, but I think, I mean, like, currently modern tech, not your granddad stuff, but Windows is a lot more intuitive than Mac is. There's a lot of times where I've been on here and I've been like, I don't understand why on earth they think that should be a feature that people want. And there's a lot of things they do where I'm kind of like, it's a bit stupid and a bit unintuitive, but once you've worked it out, then it's a lot easier. So once you've actually managed to work out how to use it all, it gets a lot easier. But again, as I say, there's some features on it where I still like, sometimes I see it and I'm like, that's just weird. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it's
because it doesn't exist. Yeah, you get used to it after a while, but I just found it easier. But then again, we're talking different eras. Obviously, I got 2009, you were what, 6? I was 16. So it's like, you know, I'd spent however many years on a Windows thing before, and I always thought Windows was a bit crap up until that point.
You're younger than I thought.
93. What?
That's right.
Yeah, because you're 2003, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. No, like I say, for me, it was, I picked up the operating system much better, and I think
you were saying you're 93 years old.
Feel it sometimes, to be honest with you. When I start talking to you, I feel it.
You're younger than expected. 93.
I'm aging incredibly well. But yeah, I mean, the major downside to Macs is you can use Revit, but you have to use it.
That's not think about what I just said. Let's just keep going.
I'm literally just ignoring you at this point because I've got to get through it before Grayson comes home, which would probably be imminent. The main downside to Macs is you can't use things like Revit natively. You've got to use Parallels, or you've got to use a partition drive to do boot camping and all that stuff, which is... You can use SketchUp.
Which is better.
Well, depends what you want to use it for. Most people in big offices use a lot of Revit because they use a lot of BIM. whereas it's not as easy to do it. You also can't use things like 3D Max, but I've never met anyone who's used 3D Max in practice, so scratch that. It's either CAD, SketchUp, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, Revit. Those seem to be the ones that everyone uses. And everyone seems to bang on about this touch bar thing on the iMacs, on the MacBooks. Crap, don't use it. Totally crap.
I don't have it.
I know.
They've taken it off now, haven't they?
Yeah, because it was crap. Anyone who's buying a used one and goes, I'm going to buy one with a touch bar. Crap. Pointless. Useless.
Not worth it.
Not worth it.
Because like you can kind of move between tabs and stuff and like change your volume with it, can't you? It's like a bit of a setting thing.
Yeah, it's kind of, it replaces the F1 to 9 keys and some other little things, and it changes based on apps. So if you're on CAD, it's got like orthographic mode, and you can turn on and off the grid and turn on and off snap and all that stuff. But you might as well just learn the key commands for that. It's pretty simple. I never found the use for it, but hey ho, I've got it. I just don't use it. But I think it's one of those things, and I think it's something that's probably underrated a lot in practice. And offices, particularly, it's probably not so bad in like the student studio, but in offices, a lot of people go for the Windows because it's cheap and easy to get a hold of them. Whereas with the Mac, I think they're a lot more beautiful to look at, particularly a lot of the time. And sometimes it's nice to have nice looking things in the office because it sets a nice pace and it sets a nice environment. Like when we had our room where we had 4 of them, and it was like green one, blue one, pink one, purple one. It looked really nice to have like the multicolours and everyone's stuff kind of looks the same but different because they're different colours. And I like stuff like that though, and I think that's one of the things that's always drawn me to Apple products. Products everywhere.
The nice lookingness.
Yeah, the nice lookingness. If you've got an iPhone, the major benefit of getting like MacBooks for the office is like that ecosystem that Mac has, where you can like you can shot things between. Like I've got notes that I can edit on.
People's responses right there.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said the word ecosystem, everyone went, ah! Even I did it slightly. But
I was watching a video the other day of iPhone versus Android, and it's just by these YouTubers I like, and there's just that joke of, the ecosystem is so, like...
I know.
Everyone agrees it's a joke when people bring that up.
Yeah. But I think it works really well.
Yeah.
Like the notes I've got on here, if I edit it on my phone, it edits on the screen, and it also edits on my MacBook down there and on my iPad that's over in that corner. Stuff like that. And the AirDrop is amazing.
AirDrop is great, man. I know it's such a little thing, but AirDrop is insanely useful. When I go out into town and take pictures of buildings and stuff, come back here and I want to edit it on my computer on Photoshop, whatever, and I just AirDrop it. It's great.
Yeah, it's stuff like that just makes things so much more succinct and easy to use.
Yeah.
I
love not having to email myself pictures.
Well, I suppose like the next thing after that is like it applies to stuff like stationery as well, really, because I could probably do a lot of things with a ballpoint pen that I could do with a nicer pen, but I don't like the feel of the light, horrible plastic, and it's octagonal rather than circular, and it's just if you spend a little bit more money to buy something that's a little bit more aesthetic and a little bit more kind of user-friendly and nicer to touch.
I need to steal a lot next time I come to yours, because this is, I think, my last working one.
I've got like a box of them. When we moved, I found loads. Like they were just, it was like under the sofa, there was 4. There was one in like the unit by the door. Some of the coats we had hung up for years seemed like just like you turn it upside down and shake it and just pens.
Children.
But yeah, I'll give you some more pens when you come round. But yeah, it's one of those things, like, there's probably an upper limit as well. Like, if you're going to buy a really expensive pen, either use it for the office or, like, use it for meetings or something, and just make sure that you put it back. So, like, I've got a pen that I have hooked onto, like, the spine of, or I have a pen loop on my sketchbooks, and I'll take it like that to meetings. And 9 out of 10 times I'll put it back. But I am not that organised that I could have one on my desk, specifically as a desk pen, without losing it.
I've got this for my nice stuff.
Yeah.
So like my expensive pencils go in there, and the stuff I use a lot as well goes in there, because I've got a toolbox now. But obviously, if I'm not doing a workshop, I don't want my toolbox. But I do always want to be able to do sketches and stuff, so I take all of that. So I take my compass and my scalpel in there as well. Yeah.
I suppose, like, yeah, I mean, I know we covered a lot of that sort of stuff in the stationery episode, talking about, like, what's best to get. But buying stuff that's, like, not ridiculous. Like, it doesn't need to be plated in gold. to be
Like,
nice.
I wouldn't want to lose this, but if I did, as you say, I wouldn't be spending half a day trying to find it. I'd pick up a different one.
Yeah, you just pick up another one because you can buy them in packs of 20 for like 20 quid.
Whereas with this, which costs like £6, I'd be so annoyed if I lost it.
£6 chump change though. I mean, I know people spend like 80, 90 quid on a pen.
So much money for a pencil.
I couldn't do it. Like, don't get us wrong. I look at them and go, "Whoa, that is beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful pen." I would drop that, break it, and lose it within a minute, and then that would be it. It'd be gone forever, and I'd be absolutely distraught. And as much as it comes off the tax bill buying stationery for the business, I'd rather it spent on something else.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's one of those things as well. If you work in like a huge office, most big offices tend to have like a stationery cupboard, and it's usually like the cheapest pens ever, but with the company name on. Like some places I've worked, it's like, oh, here's a sketchbook, here's a pen, here's a pencil, and here's a ruler, and they've all got like PWS architecture design written all over them, and it's just you never use them. Like, the books are usually okay, but aside from that, it's usually a bit naff. So I don't bother. And it's one of those things we had at places I've worked before where people would give gifts, like corporate gifts to clients, like Christmas. And one year it was a mug with the logo on, with some pens and rulers with logos on. Like, why are you sending that to clients? Come on. So
they've been your client. They've bought your service. They've done it.
Yeah, buy them like tea, coffee, cake. If you want to thank them, get them something they're going to use.
Give them a hug.
Come here.
It's a big hug.
But yeah, I do seem to be one of those things, and like, if you're going to buy expensive, you're going to have to be rich as hell, because you're going to be buying a lot of them.
Yeah.
Or just be really organised, which I am not.
I'm tired today. I woke up and I was still really very, very drunk.
Oh dear. I've had a headache all day. I think it's all the stress. Stress putting up with you.
I had some ibuprofen, so I'm fine. It's a valid one in the next point of would it change depending on the size of your office? Obviously, as you say, you don't want to be buying loads of expensive stuff for a big office of people. But then in a small one where like everyone's accountable for their stuff, it kind of can make sense to splash out a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because a lot of the small places I've worked haven't had like a stationery cupboard. They've just kind of let you buy your own stuff and put it through as like an expense maybe. The bigger ones tend to have stationery cupboards, but they tend not to be nice equipment, so you don't want to use it. Yeah. And it doesn't really make sense, but obviously, I mean, I know of people who work in practices that have got like maybe two offices with, say, between 5 and 10 people in, and they use Macs and stuff like that. So there's obviously but I think what they spend the money on is the computers rather than stationery, because that's probably the big one, and I think stationery as well is quite personable. Yeah. Like, you're probably going to have your preference on everything.
If you obviously you really like these pens, but there's a chance I might not have liked them, and then it would make more sense for me to get my own. Yeah, or buy them and put them on as an expense. What kind of chump spends money on pens for writing with? Loser. Architects. Just steal pens.
Yeah, steal them. It's fine. I think that's going to be like a lot of it is, particularly when you get into a studio. Not so bad for students. I think the stuff we're going to come on to is probably better for students. But like, student wise, you buy what you can afford really. Like if you're buying a top of the range MacBook for uni, either you've got dollar, mummy and daddy have bought it, or your boss has paid for it. Like chances are you're probably going to get a lower spec Mac or a higher spec Windows or whatever it is, and it might be that you've chosen the Mac because you like. I don't want to say it. Begins with E and ends in core system.
No, but I know a lot of people will get something, especially as students. They'll get like a cheaper laptop that's 400-500 quid, something that's like the same price of your phone or even less, because it's like you don't necessarily know what you're going to use it for, and it makes sense certainly in the first couple of years to kind of just go with something that will do, instead of going for something that's really expensive that you might not actually use as much. Yeah, obviously I use this a lot because I do the editing on it. I do designing, like with SketchUp and stuff, and so it makes sense for me to have a nice one. But then if you're coming into it and you're doing a lot of just like sketches by hand and you don't do as much work on your laptop, it makes sense to have one that's like just kind of for essays and then like the occasional CAD drawing, finding maps and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, what
So
I
it's
did
kind
with
of-
my first MacBook, I bought one that was the best processor, but had crap RAM and crap hard drive. And all I did was, after the first or second year when I had a bit of money, I upgraded the RAM or I upgraded the hard drive. And I think that's what a lot of people with Windows computers did, because the more you get into it, the bigger your models are, the more CPU, GPU, and RAM and everything you're going to need.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of people were doing. Obviously, with the Mac I had, I couldn't just change especially these days, you can't just change
You can't just get into your Mac and chop and change stuff.
Yeah, so I suppose these days it's not as applicable, but it probably is applicable to Windows computers where there's a lot of customizable options and you can take them apart.
I think that's one of the advantages of Windows. It definitely is
huge
that.
advantage.
You can just add your game and stuff.
Yeah, massive advantage. I agree with that, and I think the only way I've ever bought Macs is I've just bought the most expensive one. I mean, the Mac I had for uni.
And wait until it doesn't work.
Yeah, I had that for 7 years, and it still worked at the end of its life. It just wasn't as good as I needed it to be, and after 7 years, it earned its money. I'd started the business by then. Got me through all of uni, started the business for a year and a half.
That's it. I'm expecting this to last me a long time.
Ah, yes, I'm expecting it to last you a long time because I'm not buying you another. We'll have to get Mac Studios next.
Have you not got any yet?
No, I keep saying I'm gonna, but then I keep finding other things to buy.
Yeah, this, I'm hoping I won't need to upgrade it until it's just not enough, and I'll be amazed if this is not enough at any point.
My plan is to save.
Thing is a machine.
Yeah, my plan is to save up and get me a big one, and then get you a big one for when you come back after uni, and then we've got my laptop that I'm using now, which will be 7 years old, will then become obsolete, probably just like a runner in the background to set. We might just like airdrop files to it and use it to do the 3D printing and stuff. And then your MacBook becomes the business MacBook we take to client presentations and that.
Yeah. I want to get a monitor, a second monitor, because it's been a few times. Even if I'm just like watching TV and working, I want to have something up there. I tried using our TV.
That was a text off Hannah. Let me know ASAP. Oh God! Right, quick, we need to run through the other things.
So the next part that we're going to go into is more of a section about well-being instead of kind of stationary and equipment. This is more about how to feel, how to get yourself into a better headspace, essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like make the office more, or your studio if you're at uni, like a bit more kind of bearable. And I suppose it's, yeah.
Like,
I mean, obviously,
I know. In here, I've got no plants in here. I've got this one picture of a bee. And that's quite a nice picture.
Oh, it's a lovely picture of a bee.
I took it and then it just left it in the portfolio when I came to the portfolio. But I've got no decoration in here, and like, I can kind of, when I need to get something done, I can kind of get my head down and do it. And I don't really like working in the library because even though it's a nice library, it's like not my kind of environment. I like being in like our kitchen so I can talk to people when they come through and I can see the trees through the window and stuff like that. Whereas with this, next to me, I've got the main road. So I've usually got my curtain closed anyway. If it's a nice day, I'll have it open. But it's like I kind of, because there's not much decoration or I haven't really put effort into making it a nice space to work in fairness, and so it's not a nice space to work in. Like, I can do it, and like it's great for doing models in here and stuff, but you know, I wouldn't want to spend ages working in here.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you'd probably benefit from something like a terrarium, because it's kind of gives you, like, it brings nature inside. I think there was something I read ages ago that was about, like, obviously plants are really good for mental well-being and all that good stuff, but you kind of find that for a lot of it, it's reducing of like stress, and there was like science that proved it was, good for, memory retention and improved symptoms of attention deficit disorder, if you know anyone with that. But yeah, there's like higher productivity and stuff.
What could you possibly talk about?
Yeah, who on earth? But yeah, and it's like it also improves things like creativity
Not like I
and
just
like
been playing with this the
inspiration.
entire time.
Well, yeah, even like little things like that's probably good for you.
This is insane. Even we were watching movies.
We should
a
probably
movie
say
tonight.
he's holding up a fidget
didn't
toy that
realise.
I bought for my autistic 4-year-old son, and he's having the time of his life.
It's so good. No, we were watching a movie the other day. I didn't even realise I was fidgeting. And everyone around me was like, Theo, what are you doing? And it's hard to not swear. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you're just like tapping out a rhythm on your glass. I'm like, am I? And one of the mates was like, haven't you got a fidget toy? Go get it.
See, since I got married, I'm not wearing it actually, but I usually have my wedding ring on, and when I'm tapping on the desk, it makes a different sound when the ring's on. So I'll be like tapping on the desk, and it'll be like bass drum with the fingers, and then snare with the ring. So it's like it's really great.
Yeah.
So I think you've probably got the same issues as me, or I've got the same issues as you, one or the other. But yeah, it's like because it's biophilia, isn't it? Which is like the love of plants.
Mm.
And then so
our union's actually quite good. It's a nice workspace. The only problem is they play music really loud, so it's hard to sometimes hear your own thoughts, which I know obviously you like that because your thoughts are scary. And my thoughts run rampant and are not cohesive. So sometimes it's good to not hear your thoughts. But like ours is really good because it's like loads of people there. It's a nice space. There's loads of. I'll send you some pictures next time I'm in. It's really nice though. It's a nice environment to be in.
So that's a big thing on it though, isn't it? Like if the environment's nice, you'll be more creative and you'll be happier and you want to get more work done. Because I think
you'd like our union. I'll send you a picture sometime.
Yeah, I do, because I'm always interested in like nerd out on a bit of interior design. As well as things like we're putting in a lot of kind of people's houses at the moment is like living walls and stuff like that, and emphasis on natural light and like water features and all that really helps. But I know, like, obviously studio-wise in your room, you're not going to want to have loads of potted plants. So terrariums are great because you can have an open one that purifies air, or you can have a closed one that you don't have to do any maintenance on. You just kind of...
I think that's the best bit of decoration I have. is an energy drink and an all-out cider that I haven't drunk because they've been here since I got in. And that is the decoration.
Are they yours? Or were they there when you got there?
The Rockstar was. The old... I had some Mind Brew energies as well, obviously, because of Scotland. I used to think it was a bit of a joke, like a stereotype. When you go into Aldi and see the wall of Iron Brews, and you're like, holy crap!
A wall of Iron Brew. Sign me up.
A wall of just Iron Brews. It's great.
Maybe that's what you need. Instead of a wall of plants and sedums and stuff purifying the air and making you feel good about your work, you just need a wall of Iron Brew with a straw.
You know how some students will put like the bottles up in their glass once they've finished it, and like I've seen a few where it's cans of Iron Brew.
You'll have to bring loads down, like bring cases of it. Do you get Iron Brew extra?
We get Iron Brew everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Did you the Iron Brew? The like refresher bars?
When I first came here, I got 5 free cans of Iron Brew Energy.
What, as part of the student pack?
Just in the room.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
And I think they hand them out for free in the student village reception in exam times as well. Because they literally just they've got this big kind of,
We should definitely do an episode on doing all-nighters.
Yeah. While doing an all-night.
Whilst doing an all-nighter, yeah.
Yeah. When I'm doing my final submission, we can record it while I'm working. Just
me talking to you and you going, yeah.
It can be you kind of instructing me on how I do it.
We'll get into it, but you definitely need to start your all-nighter a week in advance. That's how to have a successful all-nighter. Start your all-nighter, prep for it a week in advance.
And then when it gets to your all-nighter, don't stay up for that long.
Yeah, so if you're like, my best advice is don't do an all-nighter. He says, having done one 2 weeks ago. Anyway, but yeah,
man, we are so far off topic, I can't even see it anymore.
If you can't bring greenery in, go out to the greenery, get some walking done. There you go.
Yeah.
That's probably your next bit.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I brought that right back.
Like a boomerang.
But yeah, like getting out is going to massively help, and getting plants and everything will massively help. I think even in studio, like if you can get out with your mates, take a lunch break, because it's one of those things. I used to do it all the time when I worked. Was my lunch breaks were an hour, which is funny because in the UK, I think it's for every 8, I want to say, hours that you do, you get 20 minutes worth of break or something stupid. Most places will give you an hour. If they only give you 20, leave. There you go. Workers over 18.
That meme I sent you the other day of when I was younger. I used to be really, really poor, but after lots of hard work, I'm no longer young.
Another feeling. So here you go. Workers have a right. So sorry, workers over 18 are entitled to three types of break: rest breaks, daily rest, and weekly rest. Rest breaks at work. Workers have a right to one uninterrupted 20-minute rest break during their day if they work more than 6 hours. It should definitely be, you should get an hour. If any employment offers you 20 minutes a day, sack them. Like, go.
And that's just for more than 6 hours.
Yeah, and obviously
So
you work like an 8-hour day. Also, this is one thing that really annoys me, and I've seen it a lot on social media. A picture of Henry Ford with this guy introduced a 9-to-5 mentality, 5-day work week.
Weekends?
But prior to that, right?
He made weekends, didn't he?
Yeah, prior to that, you would work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. So that needs some context. Everyone who's reposting that, give it context. The man saved you a lot of work. But yeah, I think, actually, on that topic, have you heard of Weekend Wednesdays?
Yes.
CGP Grey.
I love it.
CGP Grey did a really good video on it where it was like you get Monday, Tuesday.
We get Wednesdays off as well, and it's great.
Yeah,
it's
you get
amazing.
Wednesday off, but you work Saturday.
You take Wednesday instead of Sunday or something like
Saturday.
that. And then you still get your Friday night.
No, so you do
Saturday.
Monday, Tuesday, Weekend Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But on the Saturday, you do so much work because no one else is working and no one thinks you're working. It's great. And then obviously you get Sunday off, so instead of wasting your Saturday and then on Sunday going, oh God, Monday's coming up.
No one interrupts.
You get so much done,
isn't it? Because no one interrupts you on the Saturday because like no one's calling you because they're off.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not trying to talk about work else. You got a day literally of doing stuff yourself. Yeah, I tried it a while back and it was good, but problem is it just didn't quite stick. But yeah.
No, I didn't. I
just
tried
work
it
all the
it didn't
time.
quite stick. Felt like everyone called me on the Wednesday. I was like, "Are you kidding?" There's the 4-day week. That's the other thing that seems to be getting more and more popular. I know Aaron did a 4-day week.
I like my 7-day week.
4-day work week better.
7-day work week.
4-day work. Yeah, 7-day work week. That's what I do. 4-day work week. As we had Aaron doing a 4-day work week because on the Friday he either picked up or dropped off his son, didn't he? So he got he basically did extra hours to make up the time for the extra day a lot of the time, but he always had the option of dropping down to 32, which kind of led towards being a more goal-orientated work week rather than you must work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which I think works really well. Because I've worked somewhere before that had a goal-orientated work week, and most of the time, by Friday morning, most people were done.
What's that like? Once you've got everything done, you're finished?
Pretty much. So you would have... So, for example, I mean, so in that practice, we did a lot of small resi, medium resi, and then we did, like, decent-sized commercial and big resi. And a lot of the time with that is the whole team would have... So the whole team would have, like, a big board of these projects need done, these stages need done. And it might be that I was on with one of the resis, one of the little resis or something, and I had 3 or 4 of them to do. And maybe I got that done by Thursday night. And then on Friday morning, we'd all chip in on one of the big ones. If one of the directors or one of the higher-up senior architects hadn't quite finished it, we could all chip in on the Friday morning and leave early on Friday or something. That was a really good way.
Yeah.
Because it was like...
That's quite... Because that would be quite boosting for your morale.
Yeah.
Encouraging. That's it. That'd be quite encouraging. How did I forget the word encouraging? Jesus.
Yeah, well, because
Because it would be like, actually, if I get more done, then I get to finish sooner.
Yeah, and it's like, as long as because it wasn't goal orientated per person. It was like goal orientated for the week or the month or whatever. So it might be that you had goals for each week, and then you had like a big one for each month. But yeah, it was that worked really well until it didn't work well. And there's very occasionally you'd be doing not all nighters, but you'd certainly be doing towards the end of the month. It typically happened
when it's too much to do in a week.
Sort of yes and no. So sometimes it might be that it was usually the end of the month where you had a week of work to do, but then that month-long project that you might not have started until week 3 creeps up pretty quick. So there were odd times like that, but we were often like rewarded for stuff like that. I wonder if there'd be like some sort of
pizza party.
Yeah. Oh yeah, pizza! Woo! That's real good payment for my non-overtime contract.
Well done, guys.
Yeah. I mean,
as a bit of a well done, we're going to give you a slice of pizza each.
I mean, one of the things for even when Aaron was working, we didn't do goal orientated, but we did like flexible hours. So for me, as long as you're at your desk between like 10 and 12 and 2 and 4.
Oh, that's the first point on the note.
Is it? Woo! We've gone full circle. We've done it.
Finally get towards the topic.
But yeah, so that's one of the things that we always
How did we get to what we were meant to be talking about naturally? That's impressive.
I'm getting good at this. I've been practicing in my sleep. But yeah, I think Aaron did like a flexible work week, and for me, as long as you're at your desk or available between 10 and 2 and 2 and 4, because those are the main times that people are calling you and texting you and emailing you at those times. Other than that, like, I mean, if you're in a meeting in those times, you're in a meeting. If you're on site, you're on site. But if you can be available and at work for those hours, I don't care when people work. Like, I prefer working at like 6 in the morning or 10 in the evening.
As long as.
But I'm always
as long as people can reach you when they need to be able.
Yeah, in those core hours, I am available, but I also do a lot of the work either side of that as well. I think one of the things that people struggle with is that work-life balance. So I think points like that, where we talk about weekend Wednesdays and 4-day weeks and flexible and goal-orientated, is to help balance people's work life. Because at the moment, I mean, mine's terrible, but yours will be awful as well because you're a student. Yeah.
We won't talk about that. It's not good.
But it's one of those tropes of architects.
If I'm not working, I'm out, and I'm usually
that's life.
I kind of do. Yeah, I usually start working like 1 in the afternoon and then end work when it's time to leave.
Another feeling. Yeah, I suppose then the main thing then, if you're doing that much work, is taking rests at work. Like, wow. For those who are listening on the podcast, Theo appears to have just pointed the sun at his face. So when you when you're doing your full days, do you take rests at work, like when you're working in the studio?
When we were like on a Tuesday we're in 10 till 5 and we get an hour at lunch. But not really. No, I kind of work until I'm burnt out, which usually takes about half an hour, or until I'm like, yeah. Honestly, even when I'm designing stuff, I'll like do one drawing and I'm like, oh my god, how much effort.
That's it. Because like everyone always bangs on that you're supposed to take like lunch breaks and tea breaks and stuff like that.
It depends though, because no, in fairness though, if I'm enjoying it, I'll just keep going because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I suppose.
Once I get it's like still working. Yeah. Yeah,
once it becomes a chore, you probably want.
So if you're not do a job you like and you never work a day in your life, that essentially. I'm currently at the point where everything's like still new and exciting and it's interesting to us. So it's kind of it makes it harder for us to get burnt out because I'm interested by what I'm doing and I'm enjoying what I'm doing because it's a new thing.
Don't worry, we'll get you there.
As soon as I start trying to do, as soon as I start trying to do looks better than iPod. As soon as I start, what does it? As soon as I start trying to do my essay for my cultural studies thing, that's just going to be me staring at a blank screen for like 5 hours trying to write down the easiest 1,000 words ever.
Yeah. Just write. Just write.
It's not even a big essay.
Or write words and copy and paste it 1,000 times.
I just have a feeling that my
Move closer to the
if
mic.
that's all I put for my essay on the Palazzo del Te, I might not do quite as well as I want to.
It's fine. I know someone who'll offer you a job. I think one of the things that no one ever mentions is everyone goes, "Oh yeah, I'll just work through my lunch break. I'll just work through," but you really shouldn't, especially if you're knackered and stressed and all that. One thing I've learned is, so I've got a coffee setup whereby I've got to grind my coffee and make my V60 and everything like that. And that 5 minutes away is enough to clear the mind. But I think for more extreme cases, get an office dog. Because they, like, force you out of the... Like, they give you...
Well, Phil, tell me about dogs. How do they work in the workplace? Do they help? Surely they can't make you feel better. Tell me more.
Thanks. Thanks for that brief introduction. Nah, they are. They're much better. Like, I mean, you might want to get an office cat if you're wrong, but office dog's the best thing since sliced bread.
And you might not want an office husky.
Yeah. Huskies were a bad call.
You hear that?
Yeah. Heard that. Huskies, bad call. But...
That's why I try and sleep too.
Well, that's why you shouldn't have gone to uni.
Yeah, they're great, but as soon as like if I'm working with you and Atlas comes into the room, I'm just gonna be getting smothered for the next half hour.
Yeah. Once you see what you need is you need an office dog that's not as excitable.
Bigger dog.
Yeah, he's massive. But it's one of those things you've got to kind of get the right breed, I think. I mean, we used to have a
get a really dozy
beagle.
old Labrador once a year.
Oh, what? Oh no!
Dogs aren't for Christmas. They are. They're 13-year-old.
You horrible.
Because then it'll just lay at your feet the entire time.
Yeah, we used to have a beagle.
And then at one point, it hasn't moved in a while.
We used to have a beagle in one of the offices that I worked in, and it absolutely hated the cleaner.
Yeah.
So that was always interesting. As soon as the cleaner came to the little glass panel on the door, that was it. The whole... Pardon? Yeah. No, it wasn't even just standing with it. It didn't need to be on, but it just lost its rag every time. It was mint. But yeah, I think it definitely improves office morale, and it gives you that kind of break when you're like, "Oh, come here for scritches. Oh my god, I love scritches. Who's a good boy?" Like, which is what I do to you, basically. That's really good for like office morale. But they force you out as well. They force you to go for a walk. That's the main thing. And then that gets you back out into nature, back to where we were about terrariums and outdoor and living walls. It's gone full circle. We've done it! Quick, do the sign-off, quick! Roll credits!
Thanks for watching. Good night.
Ow! Oh.
It's goodbye from Richard.
And it's goodbye.
And goodbye from me.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
I mean... That was amazing. I mean, the only other thing I had to cover was like dealing with, we've covered visual and beautiful things with the plants and the artworks and stuff, and then we've covered getting out and about and having breaks, and then the next thing is like the quality of the air, which could go into air purification if you want an air purifier.
You said one of the things about the walk-in is on here you've said it might not be as applicable to city office dwellers, but to be honest, it is. There's been a few times where I've just gone out for a little walk and looked around the city, and it's still nice. And it's not like I'm going out for a rural walk through a woods or anything like that. But it's still nice to be able to go and just have a look around the city, getting to know what you're surrounded in. That like there's still stuff going on, and although it's not like totally fresh air, like it's still better than being cooped up inside all day. A change of scenery.
But if you've got a standing
really
desk,
important. When I was.
It'll limit your risk of cancer or something. So breathing in the non-fresh air, it's all about balance. Work in the city, get a standing desk. Yeah,
Walter White did have a standing desk, but he also worked in a city. School.
Well, that's more, I suppose, of a mental break type
change
thing.
Of scenery makes, so when I was revising for my A levels, I got into kind of a bit of a flow of things where I'd go to the Lit and Phil, you know that in town?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd go there in the morning have my lunch, and then go to the city library.
Oh, just a walk
And so
across
actually,
town.
yeah. And so actually, it's not even that far. It's far. It's around the corner. But having that change of scene in the afternoon made such a big difference for us.
Yeah. No, I imagine it. Like, change of scenery and also that kind of mental break between one point and another. Because one of the things, if I get really stuck on something, I'll make a coffee or I'll water the dogs or I'll make lunch. I'll do something else, and then you sit back down at your desk and you solve the problem suddenly.
Yeah.
It's like seeing the tree for the forest or the forest for the trees or whatever it is. Helps massively.
What?
You ever heard the saying you can't see the... All right. Looked confused. You always look confused. The only other thing that I've got notes on to talk about is like talking about quality of air. Because we've talked about quality of like the visual amenity, and we've talked about quality of getting out and about and taking rests and mental health and all that good stuff, and the quality of your structured work week. But the other thing is the quality of your air.
One of the things I hate about working in my room is I sleep in here, so it smells of sleeping sometimes, and like your sweatiness. But this window opens up like
it's not a restrictor
all the way. Anyway, having noise cancelling headphones works great next to the here, and then I can open the window as well, so there'll be loads of noise coming in, and I won't know about any of it. But yeah, having fresh air is nice. When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is open my window so that it like freshens up the room.
Yeah, well, it's massive, isn't it?
It's just even like having the diffusers are nice, but if you like spray the room, then it can smell a bit chemically.
Yeah,
and it's just nice to have genuinely fresh air, and that's humidifiers are good for that as well.
But it's funny because we
went to a rehearsal room the other day where they had a dehumidifier.
Ooh, fancy. Someone cares about their well-being.
Bougie.
Oh, don't ever say that again. So yeah, the last thing's like, because we can team this back up to the whole living wall thing. Because there's obviously, if you've got like an open terrarium or you've got living walls with green plants, they freshen the air for you.
For the improved symptoms for ADD, which is no longer a used term. It's just umbrella term for ADHD, which means when you say it to people, they go, "But you're not hyperactive," and you go, "I know, it's not the point." Anyway, let's stop complaining about my life. Yeah, what was I saying? Things. Basically, I know if I had a terrarium, I'd get so distracted by it.
No, it's just plants in a bloody glass container.
Yeah, I'd get distracted. I'd be trying to find the stick insect. no one full well is not in there. I'd be like, I wonder if there's a chameleon. Like I can get distracted by anything, and obviously, I'd say the benefits would almost definitely outweigh it. It's one of the reasons why I don't really try and take breaks, because if I stop the flow, then it will be hard. It's harder for me personally to get back into it. And there's a chance that if I go for a break and watch a video on YouTube, I'm gonna be there for hours.
That's it. Like I think,
I'll put a timer on. I'll set like 7 alarms, and I will just turn them all off when they go off.
Well, that's it. I think most normal people need a break, whereas for I think you and me in particular, we use the break as the kind of breathing space between things to do on the to-do list, but also probably as a way when you are stuck and you need a little mental break to clear out. That's what it's good for. I think
every now and then there's this one video I really like. It's just literally like a bit of a clear your mind.
Is it one of ours?
It's like a 1 minute mental break. No, imagine. No, that would be horrible. That would do the opposite.
Imagine plugging your own podcast on your podcast. Podcastception.
So guys, I've been watching this cool podcast. You should check it out.
If you could sound less sarcastic and pained while you say that.
There's this one video. It's like a minute long. It's just a quick mental reset, which is quite nice. But yeah, I don't know how that was relevant. I've forgotten what I was talking about.
Clearing your mind between to-do list tasks.
Right, I quite like it when I get like a natural break. Yeah, so like if in the morning I'm designing something and then I think I need to start writing up something, the space between there is the break, as opposed to kind of, I've been designing something for a while, now I'm going to take a break. What I prefer to do is actually use the break to move into something new.
Yeah, well, that's what I do anyway. So.
School trip. I prefer if I'm having a break to go into something different instead of trying
maintain
to get
productivity.
back into what I've been doing.
Air quality is going to play a massive part in making you feel good and having your green walls. If you have so I mentioned terrariums. If you've got an open one, you get the benefit of it cleaning the air, but if you've got a closed one, you don't get that. But it's also easier to maintain, so there's a balancing act to play there. But I found a really cool product, right? And it's called Breathe, BRIIV. And what it is, as far as I can tell, is it's a natural air purifier, but kind of semi-terrarium-esque. So I will read to you some of their literature from their website. So the filter is made from reindeer lichen, a green material you see at the top is a naturally grown, harvested, inorganic material which is renowned for its innate ability to trap particles, blah, 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 blah. And then it's coconut something. I'm not going to try and pronounce that because it looks like the word choir, and my dyslexia won't take me past the word choir. And then they've got like a silk matrix filter, and like it's all made of activated carbon and stuff. So it's kind of pretty to look at because it's green, but also purifies your air. So I might buy one for things and giggles because I can't say the S word. Might do. It's like 300 quid though. They're pretty expensive. You can buy cheaper air purifiers, guys.
Yeah, but you
living walls.
You like to throw money down the drain.
Yes, I know. I have an intern who I throw money at constantly.
I wrote on this piece of post-it note: do something active before starting work. Just works amazingly. Doing something, whether it's going to the gym, going on a little walk,
office dog,
making your bed.
Don't do that. Because we used to train first thing in the morning, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Collectively, the two of us.
Yeah, but on totally separate sports. I did strongman, you did powerlifting. But I used to come in at 6 a.m, and your tall ass would be there, stood in one of the squat racks, being taller than the squat rack.
Because on a Saturday morning, I'd see the strongman crew, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's cool." And I'm like, "Hold on, I'm doing powerlifting. That's also cool." It's not as cool. Let's face it. Strongman's cooler.
I did one powerlifting meet before I decided to be a strongman.
I did one powerlifting meet before I decided to stop going to the gym.
Whoa, that's bad.
Honestly, that was just the most boring day of my life.
That's awful, isn't it? You spend hours between events.
Hannah arrived.
I don't know, probably.
It was a 10-hour day for it's like swimming, except at least with swimming, the actual event is exciting. With powerlifting, even when you're lifting, it's not that exciting.
No. 3 lifts.
You don't do it and go, wow, what a rush, what a thrill. Yeah, you get 9 minutes of 9 minutes of doing a very boring thing, and 10 hours of waiting to do it.
Aye, it's
just
that's not for me. Especially probably not for you as well. Your ADHD, Jesus, what an awful idea.
It's even worse when you know you're not going to win. When you go into it and everyone's like 21 and you're 16, and you look at it and you go, "Oh, today is going to be shocking."
Also, get a standing desk.
Do something before you start. What a smooth transition. The transition's going to be a challenge to do on this one. Well, usually it's really obvious, and I just put a crossfade in, but this is going to be.
The problem is there was a little bit of a moment there where we spoke over each other, and you went backwards and I went forwards. But because there was like a gap between me speaking and you speaking, we didn't realise each other was speaking, and it just went. So yeah, go back into your doing stuff before work.
Get a standing desk.
Get a standing desk. Yeah, I've got a standing. I've got a standing desk that I'm sat at. What?
It's exactly the same, but the opposite.
Well, I've got a standing desk, but it's like you want to get a sit stand. Get one that you can adjust, for the love of God, because I'm sat currently. But sometimes I like to stand, and I've got one. It's called Trotton or something from IKEA. Yeah, so I'm like,
doing that, don't you?
The Phantom of the Opera is here. I don't know why that came from, but yeah. Inside your mind.
That was a stretch.
Yeah, I've got a sit stand one, and it's awful, and it's got a crank on it. I think when I get the proper office sorted, I'm going to get electric ones.
Crank?
Yeah, it's got a crank. Yeah, you wind it up and down. Yeah, it is. So
The
like,
Mams has preset.
get the electric one, but
Like,
if you
just click a button.
yeah, well, that's what I want. I'm going to get one of them for the new, but I didn't know whether or not they'd be massively beneficial, so I kind of bought the cheapest one I could,
Yeah.
which is about £199.
I don't think it was too. Never mind, I was about to say I don't think it was too expensive, but if that was the cheapest.
I think there's probably cheaper ones, but I was like, do I order one online or do I just go to IKEA, which is down the road? The main thing, though, is if you're buying the cheap ones that are manual, check the weight ratings on the legs. Because I got a friend who bought one that was like, maximum weight you can put on it was like 50 kilos. So he put all his computers on it and everything and then leaned on it one day. And one of the legs just went, boom!
Oh, God.
Catapulted it across the room. But apparently, I can't say that I've experienced this, but apparently they're really good for, using... So, standing lowers your risk of weight gain and obesity. I assume you just use more calories because you stood up. And then, using a standing desk may lead to lower blood pressure levels. I can't say that I've ever tested that to find out if that's true. I just found it was really good for, like, being more active and standing and, like, more energetic. And it's a bit more convenient. And my back felt so much better for it because I wasn't constantly sat like a prawn, like curled over on myself.
Standing may actually I'm just trying to think back to all these science classes. I'm, remembering this because I'm a genius. But I'm pretty sure it can lower your risk of heart disease. That's just some science I know. How?
I don't know. I imagine it's some sort of form of...
If you can be asked to get a standing desk, you're maybe a bit less likely to be a smoker.
Man, I got this standing desk and my lung cancer dissipated.
When it's
Breaking Bad would have been great if Walter White had a standing desk.
And they also, they also help to improve your mood and your energy levels. So that's good. So that's the end of this episode, How to Make Your Office Succeed and Suck Less. Thanks for joining us. It's episode 5. If you're listening on any podcasting platform, please consider leaving us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Back to the Drawing Board IG.
Please consider subscribing to our Patreon so that we can build up our community and for bonus content.
We'll see you next week when we return back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I kind of got a little
originally
bit...
coined by
Something's
psychic
happened.
Eric Fromm.
1 minute.
Something's happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear.
That's better. Right, okay.
There's a man with a gun over there. You got to beware. It's time to stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.